It seems that everyone's talking about the kidnapped girls in Nigeria, but why is no one talking about the murdered boys? Boko Harem operating in Nigeria are engaged in atrocities against boys that are much, much worse than the plight of these internationally famous kidnapped schoolgirls. Yet if you watch the news or read it in print or online, or if you pay attention to the tweets of Mrs. Obama, you might have no idea of the nature and scale of these atrocities against boys. The fact that the killings and torture and beatings and mutilation and burning alive and throat cutting has been committed near exclusively against boys in Nigeria is almost entirely hidden from media news reporting, and no government official wishes to point it out either. So I'll point it out instead. In July 2013, 42 boys and men were killed in their boarding school. I believe the exact number of boys killed was 30, but it's not easy to be certain because our media is simply not interested in the details of death when only males are the victims. The boys and men were gathered into a small area, and then explosives were thrown at them, or they were shot to death, or else they were burned alive. As per usual in these atrocities, no females came to harm at all, and also as usual, the media failed to point this out. In February 2014, 59 boys were killed at their school. The teenage boys were shot or blown up while they slept in their dormitories. No girls at the school were harmed. Instead they were freed and told to go home by the attackers. We're often told it's hard to be a girl in Africa, but really, I wonder how many schoolgirls would change places with a schoolboy in Nigeria right now. Again in 2014, 105 men and 1 woman were killed in a village, with Boko Harem blamed for the atrocity. The stories of these 105 men were left entirely untold, and the only victim to receive any particular mention from the BBC was a single female. There are many more examples of how boys and men bear the brunt of atrocity in Nigeria. The examples are there to be seen, despite the awesome media silence on the issue. The fact is that when villages are attacked, it's the men and boys who are killed, and it's the women who live to tell the tale. So where is the human interest story about how dangerous it is to be a man or a boy in certain Nigerian villages right now? Or the far greater risks of being a schoolboy compared to being a schoolgirl? Where is the story of how dangerous it's always been to be male in times of conflict, anywhere in the world, and at any time in human history? Where is the demand for action from UN men or UN boys? Well, of course, there isn't any demand for action to protect our boys, because there is no UN men or UN boys. There is only UN women. It's clear that only girls are deemed worthy of such a mission. But tell that to the parents of the hundreds of boys, and only boys, burned alive or shot dead at these schools. Tell them that we're not interested in these boys' deaths. Tell them that we're not interested in protecting our boys. I await the UN to raise concern for the plight of men and boys in Nigeria and everywhere else. I await a new tweet from the First Lady. Maybe, raise our boys from the dead. Or, stop the killing of our boys. Or, we do care about the death of boys. Honest. There is a devastating information war on men and boys, an onslaught on men and boys, hiding every aspect of their life experiences, up to and including their deaths. So it is up to us to speak for the dead. Using our pens, our keyboards and our voices, it's up to us to speak for these dead boys and men, whom nobody else wants to discuss. The media is silent. The UN is silent. Even the talkative Mrs. Obama is silent. It's as if these boys and men never lived. Yet when girls are kidnapped, our girls, well then suddenly Mrs. Obama feels compelled to step in, and the world steps in behind her. We send surveillance planes and maybe even special forces. Our girls deserve nothing less. But the rampant ongoing slaughter of our boys didn't rate a mention from the First Lady. The murder of men didn't rate spy planes. And the murder of boys and men did not rate the intervention of the SAS. For kidnapped girls, we hold the front page. We send our hopes and our prayers. And we send our military assistance. For murdered boys, we don't even bother to send coffins.